Well, it's a real poignant day that I do this speech today because I left my second husband. I fled in the March 2018. He did not know I was going to be leaving until the morning that the removal people came and helped me leave because my life was in danger. And for 3 years, he has continued to pursue me. Now, today I've just received a court ruling that his stupid, ridiculous allegations that he went to court with have just been struck out. It's a really massive day for me today. So I celebrate all women today. I celebrate all abuse survivors, because let me just say, this was not going to be my presentation right now, but it's just a message I feel really, really compelled to give. If you know somebody who is in an abusive relationship, whether it's somebody you love, a family member, a friend, I know it's really hard to be that support person. And I know at times you might want to walk away because you don't understand why that person can't leave. And it gets frustrating for you because you see this person that you love, you see the toxic environment that they're living in, and they may come to you and tell you tales of things that have happened, whether it's emotional, psychological, sexual, financial, whatever the abuse is. I know it's very, very hard from an outsider. And I also know people who have turned their back on abuse victims because they themselves couldn't cope with it. Now, I'm just here to beg you to not do that. I understand that you may have to put healthy boundaries around yourself when you see these people, but please don't ever turn your back on an abuse victim, because they will only leave when the time is right for them. And who knows when that is? And and some people unfortunately don't leave and they end up dead. And I truly believe if I hadn't have left, I would have ended up dead. It would have only taken one severe punch to the face from the strongest man that I've ever been around, and I would not be here today. And that's kind of where it was heading. So please just be there for each other. Look at people with compassion rather than judgment. It's very easy to judge others when they're in a relationship that, you can say, well, if it was me, I'd leave. You've got no idea, really no idea. It's one of the hardest things in the world to leave, because we know the abuse doesn't stop there. The abuse does not stop the moment you leave. In fact, it often escalates when you leave. So let's put a shout out to any person who has left an abusive relationship for how brave and courageous they are in any circumstances. So I will go back now, backpedal a little bit on all of that. I met my second husband not long after I left my first marriage, and I had 4 children. I was 35 years of age. I'm not being very kind to myself. The words I was using over my life was, Joanne, who is going to want to be with you? You have got 4 children, it's a mad, crazy house. You are fat and ugly, your body looks disgusting, you're not who you were when you were 19, you've got nothing going for you. These are the awful words I spoke over myself. And then this man come in to say the most beautiful things to me. You're gorgeous, you are beautiful, I'm so lucky to have you. But equally, there was those other little things that were there as well. No other man could really cope with you because you are too outgoing, you are too awesome. They are so insecure they wouldn't be able to cope with you. So very, very early on, the mind games were already being played. He was bumping me up he was basically love bombing me, saying all the most beautiful things. I really want to take you and your children on. Oh, nobody would really want you and your children because, they are quite a handful. So you have these lovely compliments very quickly taken away by something else. And sorry, somebody's trying to come into my house. I'm telling them not to come in right now because we're in the middle of this. So he love bombed me, and it was lovely to hear all these beautiful words, because my first husband had kind of almost forgotten I existed. He'd forgotten to compliment me over the years, and I'd forgotten to be nice to me. And I was my own worst enemy. So I was abusing myself. This guy comes along and says nice things to me. Well, the abuse just escalated and escalated over the years. And only 2 years down the line after being with him, we got married. And little things had crept in along the way. But the day of our wedding, that's the day that he truly thought he controlled me. That's the day he thought he owned me. And He went onto my Facebook page, he changed my status to married. And that might not seem that bad because I was married at the time. But it wasn't just that. It was like, I wanted to go to bed early. He didn't want me to go to bed early. I was kind of really tired. He was started to control very odd things. He questioned where I was, even if I was just round at a girlfriend's having dinner. And then the nasty, nasty words that he continued to talk to me, like I wasn't good enough, I wasn't a good wife. Every little thing I told him at the beginning when he'd information gathered about me, he turned it around. He knew that my thing on my body was I didn't really like my legs, I didn't appreciate them. So he'd call me, thunder thighs and fat thighs and things like that. And it just tore away at my self-esteem. But mostly, I tore away at my own self-esteem. I believe those words because I had been abusing myself for far too long. We are not taught to love ourselves from an early age. You look at the film The Help, and that the nanny said to the little girl, she made her repeat the words, I is beautiful, I is kind. That's what we need to be teaching our own children. We need to teach our children how beautiful, how gorgeous they are, just for being them. They don't have to prove anything. They're not gorgeous because they've won the sports race at school. They're not gorgeous because they got an A grade on an essay. They are beautiful, worthy, amazing humans just for being who they are. Yet society kind of tries to tear that away from us and lets us not really believe that. And some countries are worse than others. Here in New Zealand, we're not really great for standing up on stage and saying how awesome we are. But we need to do that because we are all beautiful, wonderful, spectacular human beings. And it took me being in a highly, highly abusive relationship, and it was mainly emotional and psychological. But it did escalate to further. I had my ribs broken, I was throttled, I was held down on the bed, I was slapped, I was punched. I actually preferred that than the psychological abuse, believe it or not, because the words just reverberate around your head so many times. You go over them and over them. And I don't know, I'm not saying one abuse is worse than the other at all, but for me personally, the psychological and the emotional abuse was worse for me. Perhaps because I wasn't using nice words to myself. And the situation just got so bad, and my 4 children started to see things and they were hearing things, and it wasn't just seeing and hearing things either, it was the energy that was brought into that house. So, we might have one day where it was really nice, and then 5 days where it was just living under this incredible tension. So this tension was in your chest all the time. You were trying to make things right, but you couldn't do it. Nothing you did because the goalpost changed all the time. You thought, oh, I've ticked that. I've made breakfast. I've told him where I am. I've texted him to tell him I'm coming home on time. I've arrived home at exactly the right time. And you'd walk in thinking the house would be okay, and boom! No, there was something else that perhaps I hadn't done, which I didn't even know was part of his prerequisite for living. And there were surprises over and over again. All the time, the goalpost changed. So you walked on eggshells, you tried to avoid situations, but they were unavoidable, because when somebody's got that control over you, and when they themselves are true narcissists, I truly believe he didn't really have any control over it either. He was just working from life out of the toolbox he was given. But it took him to abuse me more than I abused myself for me to start turning things around. And it got to the stage where I remember sitting on the sofa one night, and I sat there with my phone in my hand and my car key, because that's how I had to walk around the house in the end, because I didn't know when I was going to need to escape. So I remember I had hiding on parts of my body, and I sat there one night after a particularly really bad 3 hours of being berated, being stuck in the corner of the kitchen, cornered with him yelling in my face for 3 hours. And he finally went to bed in a drunkard stupor, and I could hear him snore. And I sat there and I thought, I'm a good person. I do nice things for people. I help out at school. I teach young kids to read and write. I gripped onto anything I possibly could to prove that I was better than what he was telling me, prove to be better than what I was telling me. So I went on, I looked at the type of things I'd done. You know, I would help out in charity events. I would help friends and always be the person that would help them out, or help them move house, or help them clean the house, or they'd come and tell me their problems. I realised I was a nice person. And from that day onwards, I thought, Joanne, something's got to change. You can't hate yourself any longer. This is not the way to go. And I did change it from that day. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't have the tools and techniques that I've now got, but it was a mindset shift. It was like somebody just switched on the light. And I thought, no, I can't be doing what I'm doing anymore. And I went off, and I've been reading self-help books since I was 15, 16 years old anyway. So I had all this intellectual knowledge. It just wasn't feeling it in my heart. I decided to let the head and the heart start joining together. And I read a few more, and I did what I should have done. I was, saying beautiful words over myself. And at first I didn't really believe them. I am good enough. I am worthy. I am beautiful. I am lovable. But after a while, I did start to believe it. And I looked at myself in the mirror each morning. And I tried to find the one feature that I like about myself. Well, sometimes I've got great hair if I decide to do it. And I think I've got pretty nice eyes. So I'd look at myself in the mirror and I'd go, hey, gorgeous. And I'd give myself a little wink. And it felt really alien. It felt really foreign, but it also felt really nice, if I'm being really honest, that somebody was being kind to me. And that somebody was the most important person, because we are with ourselves 24/7. We spend most of our time as people, and there's too many things happening in the world for us not to be nice to ourselves. There's too many bad things that can happen, natural disasters, people who are unkind or have been through stuff that they haven't healed from, so therefore hurt people. And I think it's our duty to heal our wounds, to heal our past, to speak nice words over ourselves. And by doing that, by healing us, by healing ourselves, we raise the vibrations of the universe, we raise the vibrations of a room. Because if we can be kind to ourselves, if we can show ourselves self-compassion, if we can start to be our own best friend, our own cheerleader, then there's not much that can bring you down. Because life is tough, and that's undeniable. We don't know what's around the corner. There's life, there's death, there's sorrow, there's joy, there's black, there's white, there's dark, there's light. There's a polarity all the time, and we're forever being dragged from one to the other. And sometimes, we can be the happiest person in the world one minute, and we can be in sorrow and crying the next. And that's life. But the thing I have learned is, if you can be kind to yourself, the things that life throws at you are so much easier to deal with. They're not easy, they are easier. And it hasn't been an easy road. I have cried tears. I have had snot and tears, and it's been ugly, some parts of it, but some parts have been truly beautiful as well. And I feel really privileged to be in a place now, age 43, where I can hold my hands up and I say, I love me, flaws and all, from the inside out. And all those little things I didn't like about myself visually, I love me, all of me. Am I a supermodel? No, I'm not. Do I want to be? Actually, no, I don't anymore, because I'm actually comfortable in my own skin. We are all unique. One flower doesn't compare itself to another. A rose is just as beautiful as a dandelion, as far as I'm concerned, and one's a weed and one's a flower. But they both have beauty in this world, as do each and every one of us, man, woman, or child. We're all spectacular. And life hasn't been easy since leaving him. And he has tried to make my life a living hell. I have taken back my power. Nobody will ever bully me again. And it doesn't matter if you're a police person in a uniform, because I've had them try to bully me as well, because I've been in various situations because of my ex-husband. No, I will not take any rubbish from anybody. And I do it in a compassionate way. I don't come back with nastiness or anger. I have my healthy boundaries there. Nobody will bully me or anybody I love ever again. And I'm an advocate for women. I'm an advocate for everybody loving themselves, hence why I do the job I do now. I'm so, I see people out all the time, and I can spot a mile off if they love themselves or not. And it's often the most beautiful people that don't love themselves. these delicate little things which aren't really that delicate. They've got grit and determination inside them. And when they turn their life around, it's so beautiful to watch. It's a privilege to be part of it. I can't do it for them. I can just give them a little bit of guidance. I can give them a few little tools and techniques along the way. I can hold their hand when they're feeling sad. I can hold them in their pain. That's all I can do. But at the end of the day, it's down to each and every one of us as individuals to decide what life we want to live and how we want to live it. And that's always, always, always my message. This is your life. You decide. Your life. You decide. It's really empowering when we think that, and when we know that, and when we feel it in our heart. And we don't have to accept crap from anyone else. And we can be in situations that we don't want to be in. But if our mindset is such a way, we can get through anything. And there is help out there. There are the most beautiful angels walking this planet who are happy to help if you reach out, and if you can be vulnerable, and if you can be honest. And I have found people along the way, and I have the most beautiful tribe that surround me now of girlfriends and support and love. And my children thrive. And I thought it was going to take me a long time to rebuild the trust of my children after putting them in that situation of living in a toxic household. It took about 2 minutes. My children were just divine. And through living through that, I could live with guilt of putting my children through that. I choose not to feel guilty. I choose not to feel guilty, because what's the point of me feeling any guilt about that? Instead, I look at my children, and they are, each and every one of them, are compassionate, beautiful human beings that have seen something in life that perhaps they shouldn't have, but it's built their resilience. And I'm a resilience-based educator as well as being a self-love coach, because resilience is the thing that will get us through everything. And I believe that we are all born with a certain amount of grit in us, but resilience can be learned. And the only way resilience can be learned is by facing things head on and allowing people to make mistakes, to fall down, but allowing them to pick themselves back up again. And that's what I did. I picked myself up age 38 in this relationship, and I worked on myself for a couple of years before I got the courage to leave. And I thank my lucky stars each and every day that I chose to leave. But I'm also grateful that I was in that relationship as well, because you can't blame something if you're not prepared to thank it. And I am grateful for it, because I wouldn't be the human I am today. I wouldn't be the mother I am. And I wouldn't be able to go and help other people the way I can. So, yeah, that's my little life in a nutshell, really, ladies.